Hello, booktube. I have a guest, as
Hi,
you can
booktube.
see. This is David Murphy. A lot of you will remember he once had a booktube channel, and it was extra nerdy. It was an extra nerdy booktube channel. And he's here. He's my guest here in Boston. We've had mostly good weather today, maybe not so much. And of course, the Bean has been adoring having an extra person here. Uh, and we have a tag that I've already done, but David isn't on booktube anymore, so he doesn't do tags. I thought we'd do it. We both saw it on the channel of that reprobate, Micah Cummins. How does Micah's existence not violate YouTube's terms of service? How does that?
There ought to be a law. Yeah.
But we saw it on his channel anyway. He's very popular with all of you. And without me do it, I've already done it, but David hasn't done it. It's the Finish the Book tag that went viral.
And I've only skimmed the questions. So.
The questions they don't require us to go, hunting around on shelves, and that's good. So prompt number one is, do you keep a list of the books that you have read?
No, I don't keep a list. I don't even keep a count.
You don't keep any kind of list at all?
I started
No
to. This
commonplace
January,
books?
I told myself, well, I have a commonplace book, but I don't put what I'm reading in it. I told myself this year I'd start using Goodreads, and I did for the first 6 books I read in January, and then I just stopped.
That was the most popular answer when this tag went viral, was that a lot of people simply use Goodreads for that.
Yeah.
And
But I don't know. I mean, maybe years down the road it'd be interesting to go back and look at a list, but I don't know why I would keep one otherwise.
Do you know why
The
you
only
stopped?
thing I would be interested in is the count. It'd be interesting to see at the end of the year how many you did relative to another year.
But you don't keep track of that either, how many
No.
books you read in a year. Interesting. Okay,
No.
so no record at all. That answer almost never came up. Question number 2, what stats do you record?
None.
You record no stats at all.
Again, the only one that would interest me, I think, is the number of books that I read, or also maybe the split between fiction and nonfiction. I know it's massively nonfiction, but
Do you know why you stopped Goodreads? It just didn't.
I did.
The site didn't
I
aggravate you.
I never
at all.
thought
You
about
just-
it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I stopped thinking about it. Yeah.
Question number 3 is, do you give star ratings?
No, and when I first started paying attention to online book culture, there's 2 things that I thought were really odd. Star ratings was one of them. Because it's a scoring system. It's not an evaluation or an
Was the other one
assessment.
Micah?
No. It was people don't reread. That was the other
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And
Very
it was the most
strange.
natural thing
Yeah.
to me. Yeah. You
A
don't
lot of
watch your
people
favorite
don't-
movies once.
I
it
know.
doesn't-
A lot of people don't reread.
No.
Yeah, you're right. You don't watch your favorite movie only once.
Yeah.
I wonder if the groundwater was poisoned by Seinfeld, where he mocks the idea of rereading a book. You've already read it. but yeah, star ratings.
So, yeah.
I've never seen much appeal in them myself. Of course, I don't see any appeal in them since I don't want to be. I don't want anything that I'm reading to be reduced to that.
And again, it's a scoring system, and I don't read a book that way. I'm not scoring it.
Yeah.
I'm assessing
And
it.
it's
So,
so variable. People have to publish manifestos about what their stars mean as opposed to the stars of the next person. And you've got to remember
and
that.
it's useless as accugrator. I was looking at Amazon reviews the other day. I forget what the book was, but somebody said that it arrived damaged, so I took a star off. Well, that's an evaluation of the shipping company, not the book.
So you're saying that somewhere along the line, Micah Cummins arrived damaged? Is that what you're saying?
Out of his crutch pot, he was damaged. Yeah. Immediately. Yeah.
Question number 4. Question number 4 has been the subject of 1 or 2 drunken rants from Steve. Do you review the books you read?
I have reviewed some books, yeah.
You have? Steve.
I don't want to elaborate. I've been through this once or twice already being here.
Far too few books he has reviewed. Then question number 5 is, where do you put your finished books?
Either in their place on the shelf, or I usually keep a box that once it's full, I take it to the bookstore and sell them.
So when you finish with a book, that is a possibility. That isn't time. You're going to know right away this goes in the giveaway box.
It's pretty, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. So that's not a gradual pruning over time.
No, I mean, that does happen where I think I'll return to a book, reference it, reread it, whatever, and then after a couple of years I don't, so I end up getting rid of it.
Okay.
Or
so
I just moved. Some of you who follow me on Instagram know that I just moved. And you find what you really want to keep when you move, because you don't want to lug all the books. So that's another way that I've culled some out. But usually I know right away. I have a pretty good sense.
Okay, but what about the ones that you are going to keep? Do they go, when you finish with one, does it go straight to its subject matter?
On the
straight,
shelf?
Straight to like books? So there's no like holding area for recent reads or any issue with sorting. They just go
there's
straight
no
to
issue
where
with
they
sorting.
are.
They go exactly where they
Okay.
belong. Yep.
And then,
And when I buy them, I put them where they belong, unless I'm going to read it right away. So if I go book shopping, I bring all the books home, I put them in their spots.
oh,
And
then
then
draw
when I
from
read
there.
them, I pull them off. Yeah, I don't have a physical TBR pile.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then prompt number 6 is, how do you pick your next book? I have to admit, this was the most interesting question for me to listen to for all the tags we did. How people, all the different ways that people do it. Some people are very methodical about it. I know just what I want to do, what kind of category. I want fiction. I want fiction from a certain country, history about a certain time period. And other people, it's, what is it for you?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll read on a theme. So I'll read one book, and if it's engaging, I'll go to a book that came up in its footnotes a lot, or something along the same lines. I usually read along a theme.
What about suggestibility?
What do you mean?
If you happen to be reading a book review in the National Review or
NRB,
will that suddenly move a book forward?
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then more in the last 2 years than ever before. Yeah. I used to read by subject matter, so I wanted to tackle, so for those of you who don't know, I'm very interested in economics, so I would take...
You should see some of the books he got from Brattle.
We talked about doing a haul, but they were so abstruse I didn't want to. It would have been pointless, yeah.
Some of them are so boring that the book's own title is, "Are you sure?" He took books that were absolutely destined to be thrown away, and now they have a home. But does that usually have good results?
Yeah.
That kind of suggestibility?
But yes, the suggestibility tends to, but sometimes it can be disappointing. So I read the biography of George Blanchine based on the excerpt that was in The New Yorker, and I loved that. And then the book, for me, was a bit of a dud. So that was disappointing.
What about older quasi?
But that's something that I don't usually read, I will say, too.
Right.
So if I am reading a review of something in National Review or Reason Magazine or something, it's what gets covered there is usually something I'm already interested in. But so that has more success.
What about something that's older? Like if you were reading somebody's, somebody's a long political think piece, and at one point in that piece they mentioned Thomas Jefferson's Notes on the State of Virginia, something like that. An older canonical work that you've probably read already. Does that ever send you back?
Yes.
Or like in the new New Yorker, there's.
Well, because I'm also a very, very critical reader, so if you are pulling on that, I want to see if you've got it right. Oh. So sometimes it's a way for me to check your work. Yeah.
Okay. And then prompt number 7 is, do you have any rituals when you have just finished a book? This was also fascinating to hear all the different things that people do.
What kind of answers did people give? I don't know what you would do.
Well,
spin around 3 times, clap your hands, and put it on the shelf.
A lot of people, some people said they retire their bookmark into that book. They take the bookmark, put it right at the beginning of the book. Some people make a notation in the book.
That doesn't make any sense to me. You put the bookmark in the front of the book?
Yeah, to signal.
Why don't you just use it in another book? You don't know what you've read?
That bookmark is going to live in that book, and now you're going to commemorate that you're finished by putting it at the beginning of the book.
Weird. No, nothing like that. I mean, I kind of close the book. I guess I think about it for a minute. I put it on the shelf, and then I know in that moment if I'm going to go to something terribly different, or, like I said before, keep reading on that theme.
Which of those is more likely? Do you tend to, you say reading on a theme, does that tend to be the thing that happens?
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll get to a point where I say, okay, you need to just move to something else because this is getting ridiculous.
So you're a bit of a rabbit hole reader.
Yeah.
So you're reading a book on World War I, you're likely to want to read something else adjacent to World War I when you finish it.
Yeah, and then if I finish the book on World War I and there was a battle, for example, that especially interested me, I'll take 4 or 5 other books on World War I, and then I'll read all the chapters in those books on that battle and kind of compare them across, yeah.
Oh, well, that's it. The only other thing is, who do you tag? And you don't have a channel.
Oh, boy.
There's no tagging people. Everybody on BookTube has done this anyway. So utterly fascinating. Utterly
Yes.
fascinating.
When I did have a channel, I was kind of hit and miss with tags because so many of them were centered around how you rate your books, the star ratings. They tend to be focused around fiction. So talking about some of these issues is better than actually have them.
Yeah.
In
Well,
the tag.
and also,
yeah.
I mean, tags not necessarily on BookTube, but tags have a tendency to be scavenger hunt kids games.
Yeah.
That, you know, where the theme and the looking and the picking is all sort of gimmicky. This is different. This is more of a conversation about what you do with your books. Kind of interesting to me that there is no meta process for you with books. You don't record what you have, when you have it, when you've read it, anything like that, and you don't do anything when you're done.
I also know what I have, and I feel like I know what I've read, so I don't. And I don't know why I would need a very detailed log of that. I'm more hung up on the ritual question. That's weird to me. It's not a ceremony. It's just I don't know. It's just reading.
So you just basically just swing right from one book to the next.
Yeah.
Even I don't do that.
I can't read more than one book at a time, and I can't spend too long on a book. I have to read it quickly, or I get bored with it, and I'll move on to something else.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. If a book, I never take longer than a week to read basically anything.
And if you do, you get bored.
I'll get bored, even if it's a good book.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I lose patience with it. Yeah.
Are any of you like that? Do you just get bored at being in the same book?
And that's also why I usually don't read for like a half hour at a time. It's more like 4 hours at a time when I read. Yeah. I'm very impatient, I guess. Yeah.
Fascinating. That is not something I remember anyone saying.
And that's also why I like comparing books across chapters. Like I said before, it keeps it exciting. It makes it a dialogue. Comparing their sources.
Will you do that? Let's say your example where you're reading a book on World War I and you get to a certain battle and you want to check other books about that battle. Will you do that even from books that you haven't yet read?
Oh, yeah.
Just prize out that part?
Yep. I did that a lot more when I was a graduate student and undergraduate, because you were trying to pin down, say, a topic, and it's, a narrow topic within a larger book. Maybe it's a treatise, so there's no point in reading the whole book. So you'll go to the chapter, you'll check the footnotes for all mentions of the topic, you'll mark them all down, you'll organize all the books in front of you, and then you just go from one to the next to the next. Yeah.
Do you do this?
This is why maybe why I don't have a channel anymore. That is so tedious.
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to have a guest who's as tedious as I am. It's been wonderful. But I'm wondering, to finish up here, that process that you just described, do you do that also with your enormous collection of contemporary fiction? Is that
enormous?
Checking?
All three of them, I think? Yeah.
It's not a big fan of the made-up stories.
No, maybe even less than you.
Could very well be.
Which I need to get over. Because sometimes I think when I'm reading fiction, what I don't like is that it's made up. And I need to learn to enjoy it. I don't know. But
You're missing Sally Rooney. You're missing out on all that juicy real-life stuff. And who needs, all that punctuation business?
Cormac McCarthy, yeah.
Well, there you go. There's a book tag. Might be the last book tag David Murphy ever does.
Or it's the start of
something else, yes. I have been working on him. But as I've mentioned to a lot of you have been emailing me saying, he's your guest.
I still get emails. I was telling him I was in the airport going to meet Steve at the Brattle, and I got another email. I get weekly emails from people. And I've been gone for a while. It's weird.
I think the least you could do is unprivate your videos. So that
they're not even private. They're gone. I deleted them.
They're just gone. Yeah. He deleted them. Oh, my God. Really good. Well,
but I was saying before, and I told you this is how you could respond to people who asked. I didn't think people would want to go back and watch any of them, but half the emails I've gotten every week is, I went back because you mentioned this book I wanted to follow up on. Mm-hmm. I did never in my wildest dreams that I think anybody would go back and rewatch this.
Yeah, I get those emails too about you. I don't get any about Micah.
It's too easy. I don't even
it is too easy.
And we do, and Micah, we do this when the camera's off too. We don't need you to know that we're saying these things. It's fun for us all the time.
One response that I've been telling you all is what you all know, especially those of you who have had BookTube channels. Sometimes BookTube feels perfectly right. it feels perfectly right. And sometimes that feeling just fades. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You certainly don't want to do this out of obligation. Someday that feeling might fade for me.
They're going to drag you kicking and screaming.
It's not likely, but it could happen. Well, who knows? If your next visit, we might do another tag. And you might think about BookTube.
Next visit.
Yeah. Won't that be fun? So many more chores for him to do.
I can't even, yes, we cleaned up. We opened the closet, cleaned that out a little bit. Changed the light bulb last time I was here.
He's very useful. Young people are very useful. But maybe this will get you thinking. Maybe
Yeah, it felt good.
Talk
about it.
It's a lot of fun to talk to your
None of my friends
BookTube
read,
friends.
so yeah.
Yeah, and that's what drives a lot of people to BookTube in the first place. They don't come from a whole society of readers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shall hope. I shall hope. But anyway, we'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. You want to say bye to BookTube?